is it ultimately possible to go from one skill to 5+ skills in different domains, and all of that without burning yourself out? Well, there is a solution. There is actually a way for us to do that. The ability to go from one skill that you already knew and add other skills, whether they're ultimately closely related or not related at all to each other. We can make it possible without having to quit your job or, as I mentioned, burning yourself out. But if it was that simple, why almost everybody's stuck at just one skill? You can ultimately look around you. You will see most of the people are just one skill masters or a one skill expertise. I made this video having in mind people that are already professionals, having already mastered one skill, and are actively seeking, researching how to ultimately gain another skill. These people, maybe someone like you, saved courses, you saved the YouTube videos you wanted to check back. You even created a playlist, a private playlist, to put those videos in so later you can check them out. You can even have tabs you've pinned just to make sure you go back to them. But let's be honest, you've postponed every single time everything you wanted to do related to those new skills you wanted to learn. And there's a name for this problem. This problem is called the interest paralysis. What is it? What is the fundamental cause of people not being able to master any new skill? And why do smart people fall into this? Why? So if you let me, I'd like to clearly express that you're definitely not lazy. It's not about laziness. If you're asking me, the real cause people are not able to go from one skill to way more, let's say 2 other new skills, 3 more skills on top of that, on top of the one that they already have, it's too many domains all at once. Yes, it's no filter and ultimately no system to learn each domain you actually want to learn. Hopefully by now you understand that it's not really a problem with you, but the way you're approaching these skills. And I'm pretty sure that if you're watching this video, you're pretty familiar with the concept of polymathy, which is the idea of someone who has mastered multiple skills, like the famous Da Vinci. He was really good at different things. But there is a false belief actually living in today's world, thinking that polymathy is learning in parallel. This means that when you have one skill of interest, a second skill of interest, a third, maybe ultimately a fourth skill of interest, people think that polymathy is going from this skill, learning this all the way through. Do the same with skill number 2, skill number 3, and also the same with skill number 4. What is the truth? This is definitely not what's really happening. The truth about that is you ultimately have to change the way you think about polymathy from everything in parallel to sequence and integration. It's about being sequential with your learning and later integrating the different skills you've learned. If you can do it. Of course, being able to integrate them is a skill on its own. So now let's focus on the idea of a sequence and integration. How do I know that this sequence and integration is the right method? Because I've tried it. I was able to learn Spanish advanced level, French native level, Creole as my native and first language, and ultimately English, which is the one I'm still practicing to get it to perfection or near perfection. But I want you to understand that I was not able to do the learning for every language all at once, but start with one, go through it, learn everything that there is to know, and then move on to the next, which is a sequence, and later start integrating them, which is what I ultimately did for the past 2 years, because I landed a job that required me to be a bilingual in French and English. That's why I was able to get the job. So the idea of sequencing and integrating is what we need. And if you're serious about learning, this channel is built for you, because I do my best to bring you the most valuable informations and insights, so you don't have to go and figure that out by yourself and just start implementing everything. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. In the coming section, I'm going to break down the system I personally use, and this is the part that will make everything finally click for you too. What does a system that actually works look like? The system that is ultimately going to help us figure out the idea of going from a sequence to integration is called the DSSS. It's a protocol popularized and invented by Tim Ferriss, and I wanted to share this with you because I was able to start implementing this protocol way before I came across the protocol and how it was named. So by using the concept of DSSS as a protocol, we will be able to solve the problem of many domains or interests and zoom into one at a time and sequencing them one by one. The very first step we have to go through is filtering. What am I talking about when I'm saying filter? We need to filter every single interest you potentially have right now, and filter them through 4 different lenses. I'm going to tell you what are those lenses. The first is the lens of money. The second is time. The third is knowledge. And the fourth is social capital. You see, throughout my journey around learning and gaining information, converting all of those informations into knowledge, and then start applying the knowledge to make sure it becomes an active skill, it's either gonna give you one of those 4 different currencies or take away one or various of these different currencies. Let's take a simple example. Let's say that you want to learn to play the piano. Learning the skill is actively going to take you time. So that's something it's taking away from you. Eventually give it money to invest in a course where you're going to have all the information being in one place and not scattered. So you're going to have to invest money. And then once you've spent or when it has taken away these different currencies, it should be able to give you back knowledge about the piano and social capital when you start performing and becoming great pianist. On top of that idea of having the currency lens, I need you to understand a very important concept, which is passion. Your passion only exists in the vague. The first time I've ever heard this statement, it was pronounced by Alex Omozi. Whatever you have as an interest, you might be interested in it because you've seen something. Let's say like it represents only 5% of the interest you have for the skill, but it was worth enough for you to stick to it. But you don't know yet it's worth only 5% of the entire thing you have to go through in order to learn that skill or to gain knowledge in this domain. It's usually really vague when you have a passion. When you start breaking things down, you start noticing that like at least 50% of what it takes to be that person or to be this type of professional, at least 50% of it, you don't like that. And apparently it was your passion. So I want you to understand that your passion usually exists in the vague, not in the specifics. So after going through the filter, now we have the protocol, which is D. D stands for deconstruction. You're going to map out before you even start learning. This idea, this core idea is based on the concept of components. Everything you want to learn has a subset of skills or topics, things you have to go through in order to become at least proficient in the area of interest. And the very first point of doing the D, which is the deconstruction phase, is to reduce overwhelm. The fact that you're not aware of what it really takes to become that person in the field you're interested in, you don't really know, and this creates overwhelm. But the moment you start deconstructing it, you gain clarity. The next step is the S, which stands for selection. Selection means you have to cut aggressively by using the Pareto principle, which is 20% of the content that gets you or that gives you 80% of the results. The next step is actually another S, which stands for sequence. This is order dependency. It creates the situation where you have to optimize for absorption. And the last one is stake. Tim Ferriss actually mentioned something extremely important about stake, because stake adds consequences. Either it's public, financial, or it is time bound. If you're not putting yourself on the line when it comes to learning something new, you didn't make any promise to yourself or to people around you, you're not putting yourself in a fight or flight mechanism sort of situation where you have no other option but to learn it. Because ultimately, information is not enough when it comes to learning. There is actually a golden rule. I don't have a yellow marker. So I have to consider it's gold, but in black. The non-negotiable, which is to never start anything. Never start any skill. Never start learning any skill without filtering. And please, if you have a list of interests right now, let's say you have 5 different interests and you don't know which one to pick and start learning this one skill, not learning in parallel, learning with one at a time. If you don't know which one to choose, that's probably because the first step is crucial, which is filter. Even with the system, actually most people still fail because of the following mistakes they make. And here's why. Mistake number one, they think that learning is something that still has to happen in parallel, which is under the illusion of more learning, more stuff, more things to learn, you're gonna eventually go faster. But what ultimately happens is you gain no expertise at all in any of them. So you have a flat or relatively flat level of expertise in each domain because you've never dedicated enough time to any of them. Mistake number two, which is a vague passion. I can not emphasize this enough. Okay, I know I've mentioned this, but I have to repeat it for you that passion exists in the vague and abstraction when there's no specific details or a clear path to follow. And when you start applying this principle, you stop thinking in terms of passion, but you start being more realistic about the interest you have. So it's a game where you start playing with what the interest requires, what it's going to take away from you, and what it's going to give you in return. There's usually a sort of interchange going on. Mistake number three is no time. You don't want to think in terms of time whenever you have a new interest. You have to think in terms of ROI, the return on investment. If you've gained something new, if you've learned something new today with this new system and approach about polymathy, you can share your thoughts. Maybe you have a suggestion about what I shared today, and hopefully see you in the next video.